Hi everyone, and thank you for joining us today. This webinar is Walking and Running Initiatives in Schools and is a part of Action for Healthy Kids Wednesday Wellness Webinar Series. I'm Hannah Laughlin. I'm the Director of Field Operations at Action for Healthy Kids. I'm going to be presenting today with Nick Sims, who is our wonderful Alabama Action for Healthy Kids State Coordinator. And we're so glad that you could join us for a quick 30 minutes to learn more about walking and running. Let's review some logistics before you get started. When you're signed in, you'll see that you have a control panel, usually on the right side of your screen. And you can use either your telephone or your speakers to listen into the presentation, but everyone will be muted to avoid static and background interference. There is a dialog box at the bottom of that control panel where you can type questions if you have any, and we'll answer them later in the webinar. So do feel free to interact with us through that questions box. We're happy to connect with you. This webinar is being recorded, and the links to the recording and handouts will be sent out later this week. So let's get started. First, I'd like to give you a little bit of background on Action for Healthy Kids. Action for Healthy Kids fights childhood obesity, undernourishment, and physical inactivity by helping schools become healthier places. Our vision is a world in which every kid is healthy, active, and ready to learn. We were founded in 2002 by former Surgeon General David Satcher. Today we have more than 110,000 members. We also partner with dozens of professional associations, government agencies, and corporations at a national, state, and local level. We work to mobilize school professionals, families, and communities to take action that lead to healthy eating, physical activity, and healthier schools where kids thrive. Our work is all based around the Learning Connection, which is a great resource from Action for Healthy Kids to help you make the connection between physical activity, healthy eating, and learning. It's an easy-to-read special report that summarizes the most recent research proving that healthy kids learn better. This research also shows that physical activity can have a positive impact on academic achievement. It leads to more focused classroom behaviors and relates to improved academic testing scores. So the CDC recommends that children receive 60 minutes of daily moderate to vigorous physical activity. We like to say at Action for Healthy Kids that at least half of this time, or 30 minutes, should be provided at school since kids are in school for so much time of their life. Physical activity is really anything that gets your body moving. Walking, biking, sports, dancing, household cleaning, walking your cow, whatever works for you. In addition to PE classes, schools can provide physical activity time at recess, through fitness breaks throughout the day, through classroom learning activities such as brain breaks, before and after school, through field trips that involve physical activity, and by establishing walking and biking initiatives in their school, as we're going to talk about today. All of these programs can be added up to make sure that your school has a comprehensive school physical activity plan, or a CSPAP. The 5 components of a comprehensive school physical activity are high-quality physical education, physical activity during school, before and after school, staff involvement, and family and community engagement. Have you worked your walking and biking to school initiative or your walking and running club into your school's comprehensive physical activity plan? It fits in both component 2 and 3, depending on how you're doing walking and running at your school. And to learn more about how you can integrate walking and biking to school into your program, I'm going to turn it over to Nick, who's going to talk about that.
Thanks, Hannah. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm going to talk to you today about specific walk and bike to school initiatives, but before I do that, I want to briefly provide some background and convey why this work is so important. As you can see on the slide, in 1969, 48% of children aged 5 to 14 regularly walked their bike to school. By 2009, this number had dropped to only 13%. Safety concerns are a major reason kids aren't walking to school as much these days. So we're going to talk about that later and see if we can address some of those concerns through programming. First, however, let's look further at that current rate of 13% from the national average. On the next slide, you'll see where the different rates are broken down per region. So you have the 13% national average, but the National Safe Routes to School Center released additional data in 2014, which shows how these rates vary across the nation. So taking a look at these, find your own region, and then it's interesting to look at these rates in comparison with the national adult obesity rate on the next slide. So walking and biking to school can be forms of routine physical activity, and this daily activity can really make it easy to be successful in meeting the recommended CDC guidelines. As you can see, in general, the regions with the lowest walking biking rates from the prior slide are also the ones with the highest adult obesity rates. For example, Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, and Kentucky made up the region with the lowest rate at 3% on the prior slide, and those states are actually second, 5th, and 9th in the latest state of the obesity rankings. So I recommend you take a look at that later, but the correlation of routine physical activity and the obesity rating is really interesting. On the next slide is a diagram I used at what is involved with the Community Safe Routes to School program. But for the sake of today's webinar, we're really going to focus on the white highlighted area on programs, events, and education. For reference, though, examples of infrastructure projects could include installing new sidewalks, improving street striping such as crosswalks, bike lanes, installing bicycle racks at the school and additional school signage, as well as some street design improvements to slow traffic near the school. Another area, plans and policies, one way you can improve those is by including safe routes or active transportation in your school wellness policy, or working with the city to revise the sidewalk master plan or other street prioritization improvements near the school. So moving on then, looking further at programs and events, this is the Game On blueprint. For those of you who aren't familiar about Game On, it's a tool on the Action for Healthy Kids website. And here specifically today, we're going to look at the Safe Routes area of the blueprint located on the sidewalk just outside of the school building. Using this online, you can click through to access a menu of Safe Routes programming. And also of note on this blueprint is the Create a Wellness Policy icon. As I mentioned previously, this is an opportunity to improve your wellness policy by including safe routes and active transportation initiatives as well. On the next slide, we see that clicking through the Safe Routes icon in the Game On blueprint, there are a number of ways to create or start an effective walk-to-school program, such as encouraging children to walk in groups or organize adults to accompany them, like the walking school bus or bicycle train. There's also curriculums to teach safe pedestrian behavior or safe biking skills. There's programs to look at as far as adding crossing guards and a safety patrol program near your school. And then, again, a community program may look broader to empower neighborhoods and then local agencies to work together to identify and create safe routes to school and partner with the police to enforce speeds in and around the neighborhood. Events can also be an important way to build awareness overall about existing programs or encouraging additional participation, as well as advocate for improvements. And the big one coming up is National Walk to School Day, which is this October 5th, so less than a month away already. And then also in May each year is National Bike to School Day. Now, as I mentioned, there's previously a program about involving students and walking groups. So specifically the walking school bus, I'm going to talk more about that now. Walking school bus, or actually we can talk about bicycle trains at the same time. These are two programs similar in concept but vary by mode of transportation. A walking school bus is simply a group of students walking to school with one or more adult bus drivers. It can be as informal as two families taking turns walking their children to school, or a more formal structured route with meeting points, a timetable, and a regularly rotated schedule of trained volunteers. As I mentioned, a variation is the bicycle train, which basically uses the same model, but adults are supervising and accompanying children riding their bikes to school. In this slide, we see an example of a walking school bus map that was created by West Jasper Elementary, which is an Action for Healthy Kids grantee. To create this map, the school work team came together to discuss safety, current routes students were taking, as well as ways to involve students who normally carpool. Two meetup locations were naturally determined, located in residential areas where clusters of students live, and those would be the Tiger route and the Jasper route, looking on the map. And then an additional route, as I mentioned, the West Side route, was determined as a good one for carpool students to utilize. Naturally, the church, in partnership with the school, had a parking lot that was good to use. So the school began to use that as an alternative drop-off location so that those students could participate. Eventually, all of the three segments combined in the route to school. And this map was then used as part of the flyer, which was sent home to students, with students to parents. And the flyer also includes safe walking tips, the contact information for the school coordinator, and ways for parents to be engaged and become walking school bus leaders. As far as the walking school bus overall, there's an emphasis on safety in the program, and we're also obviously reaping the health benefits of increased physical activity, but there's really a lot of benefits that could be used in talking to administration about a reason to start a new program. Those include improved health and fitness, better behavior and focus in class, positive interaction with a caring adult, less congestion and air pollution around schools, a social opportunity for kids, staff, and community residents, and increased adult supervision and safety. As I mentioned from the previous slide, West Jasper Elementary was a former Action for Healthy Kids grantee, and current grantee actually through a sustainability grant. West Jasper Elementary is located in Walker County, Alabama, and ranks as the unhealthiest county for health outcomes in Alabama. In order to promote active transportation as a way to get daily physical activity, they kicked off their first walking school bus in April 2015 as part of Every Kid Healthy Week. And then with a grant from Action for Healthy Kids funded through CSX Transportation, the school hosted several walking school buses in the 2015-16 school year and continue, as I mentioned, those events this year through a Action for Healthy Kids sustainability grant. Additionally, last year, West Jasper held a bicycle rodeo to teach students about bicycle safety, the importance of wearing a helmet, and provide students the opportunity to be active and practice their skills in a controlled environment. The schools also began to engage the community in its efforts via the Walker County Health Action Partnership, including the walking school bus, as well as a school garden and a walking track adjacent to it. So really there's a lot of positive changes that are stemming from the work at West Jasper Elementary. And I want to mention a quote from the teacher who was the primary contact of the grant, and because I really love this. She says, "When students walk to school, they arrive energized and focused with their blood pumping and brains fueled by much-needed oxygen. I love that the physical activities go hand in hand with the nutritional exercises and food that our school garden provides." So really, all in one quote, that's just really what we're trying to accomplish, the fun and energy around physical activity, health, and nutrition education. So in conclusion for my part of the webinar, I wanted to remind you all that Wednesday, October 5th is National Walk to School Day. So schools across the nation will be hosting walk to school events either that day or throughout the month of October. And your school can participate in 3 easy steps, which I'll recommend. One, check out walkbiketoschool.org for ideas, template flyers, and general information on hosting an event. Second, you can register your event online through that website so that you show up in your state and towards the national Walk to School Day totals. And then finally, I highly recommend and encourage you to promote your event in advance and take pictures at the event, tag Action for Healthy Kids, and use the hashtag EveryKidHealthy during your event so we can see some of those great photos coming in and follow up to this Wellness Wednesday webinar. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Hannah to talk to you more about walk and run clubs at schools.
Awesome. Thank you, Nick. So I'm going to talk, as Nick said, about walking and running initiatives. And this is a really great way that schools can increase your students' daily in-school physical activity levels or out-of-school physical activity levels simply through walking and running either during or outside of actual school time. So while walking and running is fun, it also can be specifically linked to academic content. And teachers can have students, practice spelling words or vocabulary or math while walking around a room or other parts of the school. There are a couple of different programs that you can use as resources to integrate this into your classroom. Active Academics is a resource for classroom teachers to provide practical physical activity ideas that can be integrated into regular classroom content areas. So you can look that up. We'll include more information about that in the follow-up email, but it's a great resource. There's also the 100-mile walking club. The 100-mile club presents students with a straightforward challenge: run, jog, or walk 100 miles over the course of the school year. Students log their miles during their designated walking or running times and can have incentives to meet various levels. The Walk Across America is a fun idea where, similar to the 100-mile walking club, students log their walk, jog, or running miles and add it up with their other classmates throughout the day or the year and track how far they are able to travel across America. Some classrooms I've seen have walked to Disney World or walked to Disneyland virtually, but it's a fun way to kind of make those miles that are being walked tangible and relate it back to geography. The Walking Classroom is an education program that provides students and teachers with an innovative way to get exercise without sacrificing instructional time. The nonprofit program's Walk, Listen, and Learn methodology capitalizes on the favorable link between exercise and cognitive functioning. The program is really simple. Students take brisk 20-minute walks as a class while listening to the same custom-written, family-friendly, kid-friendly podcasts that come preloaded onto their audio device. Each podcast begins with a brief health literacy message and then a lesson plan that also has a teacher's guide to help educators effectively discuss and review the podcast material. In Pottstown, Pennsylvania, Pottstown Middle School hosted an initiative about learning while walking. David Geneva, who is the Pottstown School District's Wellness Coordinator and also an Action for Healthy Kids Healthy School hero, reported that 2 fifth-grade teachers at Pottstown Middle School are using Walking Classroom to teach their students lessons. The kids used MP3 players to listen to a podcast while walking around the track of the football stadium, as you see in the picture here. Students from Mike Dodano's 5th grade class walked the track while learning at the same time. Although the class model had some hurdles, the teacher reported that it was really a creative way to overcome some learning disabilities and also those hurdles that they faced. He said that while walking and learning has been a great opportunity to find balance between academics and activity time. The class answered questions after walking to see how much information they returned from the podcast, and the students really enjoyed and remembered a lot about the lesson. One fifth grader said that she was happy when she found out the class would be walking while they learned. I thought it would be fun because walking can make you participate more, and it's so much better than just sitting down, she said. Another fifth grader said it helps your brain exercise and it helps you get smarter. Schools can also start a walking or a running club either during, before, or after school. You can make it simple. Ask the principal or a teacher or other well-known adults to lead students on a morning walk on a regular basis. Or you can step it up a notch and check out some of these established programs to bring to your school. The New York Road Runners Club is for K through 8 students of all ability levels, and it also might be called Mighty Milers. It's a flexible structure, and it can be tailored to fit your school's needs and resources. Girls on the Run works to inspire self-respect and healthy lifestyles in preteen girls. The program usually culminates in a non-competitive 5K run event, and there are councils all over the world to help your school implement this program if you're interested in looking them up. World Fit is a walking program that pairs your school up with a former Olympian or para-Olympian to provide inspiration on walking and running. What a fun thing for students. In her dual role as first grade teacher and co-director of the after-school program at Riverton Elementary School in Huntsville, Alabama, Mary Gaylor is always improving her school and helping her students succeed. She realized that the bus and carpool riders were arriving at least as early as 7 a.m. and had almost 30 minutes of sedentary time before school. To address this issue, Gaylor created a morning walking club. Since the implementation of the walking club, 103 students have enrolled, more than 25% of the school, and have logged over 3,000 miles. Gaylor encouraged participation by using fitness finders to track mileage and provide incentives, such as tow tokens for participants. Gaylor stressed the importance of fellow teachers, volunteers, and staff support for a program like a morning walking club to be successful. She says that volunteers are the best way to make a difference and increase program capacity. She suggests a rotating schedule of core volunteers so there is consistency and balance to avoid burnout. Similar to student recognition, it's equally important to remember to recognize your volunteers. We'd also like to point out that school celebrations, rewards, fundraisers, and family events are a great opportunity to work in walking and biking. Shifting the focus away from food and letting families and students know that physical activity, walking and running, or biking is valued and supported by the school are great ways to coordinate these types of activities. For example, as part of the Walking and Running Club, students trained throughout the fall for the Jingle Bell Club annual Jingle Bell 5K Fun Run at Loves Park Elementary in Chicago, Illinois. Students joined staff members every Thursday after school to train, initially running a half mile and working themselves up to 3 miles before the run. Staff members, including Andrea Cox, the special education teacher and school health team members, spent countless hours volunteering their time to ensure that the Jingle Bell Run was organized and that the Walk and Run Club for students was connected. While the program started 7 years ago, participation has increased each year, and this year they have over 50 students per week participating in the Jingle Bell Club and more in the daily Walking and Running Club. So in order to make sure that your Walking and Running Club is successful, here are some tips for success. Ensure that participation is voluntary. Ensure that every student has an equal opportunity to participate. Survey the students to find out what they like about walking, biking, or running, and involve activities. Promote activities to students and families through flyers, newsletters, and the website. And make sure, as Nick mentioned earlier, you review your district policies to ensure that your activities are in line and meet your facility needs. Speaking of facility needs, it's great if your school is open during non-school hours for your school to participate in walking or biking. Make sure that you work with your school district to talk about joint use agreements. Linking up with other community efforts to help your walking, biking, or running program are great ways to ensure their sustainability. Research what's going on in your community and brainstorm potential partners that can help you. It's great to ensure that your walking, running, and biking initiatives are all part of a larger framework, such as Game On, Action for Healthy Kids, wellness program. Start with establishing a wellness committee and use it to drive and promote the other initiatives you have going on. Let's Move Active Schools is also a wonderful resource for increasing physical activity in schools. It's a comprehensive program, and it enables all students to get moving and reach their full potential. Make sure you check out how your walking and running club fit into this program. In addition, as part of a larger wellness initiative, your walking and running club may get you points towards becoming Healthier U.S. Schools Challenge certified. The Healthier U.S. Schools Challenge is a USDA voluntary certification program that recognizes schools for promoting nutrition and physical activity. And it's a great reward for your school to demonstrate how well you've done. Now I'm going to pause to answer any questions that we have before we wrap up. So, Nick, this is a question that might be good for you. What initiatives do you offer for rural schools? Walking and biking are not as feasible at schools in rural areas.
Go back to two things that we discussed, specifically an alternative drop-off site for schools to identify so that they can create a program, from a walking point that's closer to the school. And also, I would also say that the example from Riverton Elementary, that was really where a lot of students were being bused because it was a more rural area. They're arriving to school early, and so their walk program was actually on site, in the gym, and their plans for this year is actually to have it more outside, as they're just building a new walking track.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick. At this time, I don't see any other questions that have come through. Oh, never mind, I just got one. What ideas do you have for junior high school age students? So I'll take that one. There are lots of resources out there that help link that academic content still for middle and high school students. And like we heard from the example in Pottstown Elementary, there are really a lot of examples around the country where just simply walking around the track while listening to audio academic content can really help increase learning for that. Walking and biking programs to schools are also great options for middle and high school students, as they're a little bit older and can kind of do that a little more independently if they're in a safe, close region. So those are great ideas. If you have more questions on engaging them, you can email trainings@actionforhealthykids.org, and we'd be happy to kind of put you in touch with some other successful middle schools around the country who have done this work. We are at the top of our half an hour, so I'm going to go ahead and stop. If you have additional questions, please go ahead and email the trainings at email address that you see on the screen. We would love to have them and hear from you. And as always, make sure that you follow Action for Healthy Kids on Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest, Instagram, so you can keep up with us and know what's happening with the latest and greatest, especially with the upcoming Walk to School Day on October 5th. We'll be sharing lots of resources and information around that if you're interested. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope that you have a well Wednesday, and we look forward to talking and sharing more resources with you soon in our future webinars. We hope you'll join us. Thank you.